Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your host. What is my name? Black Mamba 1931. Damn it, I had it. I'm gonna put this in the recording. We just gonna leave it because why not?
Mhm.
I messed it up. I had it, messed it up. I'll try it again next podcast. It's your host, Black Mamba 1981, and I am back with my people for another great week of talking about geeky, nerdy stuff from a black perspective. So we are back with the EJOBN Planet podcast. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and let my co-stars introduce themselves. Cassio.
Thank you, Black Mama. How you guys doing? This is Casio from Casio Logic. You are rocking with the best. Never know what I'm gonna do or say next. Very happy to be here with Planet EJOBN for another podcast, and thank you guys for listening.
What is good out there, kinfolk? It is your boy, the Fallen Marvel, aka FM, if you're so inclined. And we are here to chop it up and talk about a lot of blurred perspective topics. Can't wait to get into them. Let's get it.
Hey, Rangers, Riders, and Magical Girls. Once again, it's your favorite Toku expert, Toku Terry. Real quick, I've also recently written a book, The 21st Century Guide to Mythology, Greek Mystery Told. Check that out on Amazon and in paperback and Kindle.
That was me. That was my applause.
Awesome.
That was my because I was happy that we have an author in our midst. So proud of you. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm definitely
Thank you.
You already know
Thank
I'm big on Greek mythology. I tune in for your misread told stories all the time in the group. So I'm really, really excited about this.
Yeah, because no matter how much the ancient authors class it up, Mount Olympus was basically just a super powered trailer park.
It kind of was. Everybody kind of did everything and everyone. They had kids by each other. They ain't really care about what's going on around them.
Yeah, isn't it like a thing where like Cyclopses are made from like Poseidon like sleeping with wood nymphs or something?
Well, yes, the second generation Cyclops are made from Poseidon sleeping with wood nymphs, whereas the first generation Cyclopses were the children of Uranus and Gaia.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Just imagine like Poseidon sleeps with a nymph and you get like a 30, 40 foot tall giant. Ain't that crazy? Can you imagine what the birthing process of that shit was like?
I try not to.
As somebody that has given birth, I know that wasn't fun.
It's
probably like, oh my God, you still
fascinating,
coming
really.
out. And then it makes you wonder, like, did they come out like fully grown? Or did they come out like little baby cyclops? And does anybody know?
That's honestly a good question.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm
Like,
not really sure. Because it's just a simple fact that like the original Titans, like at least from what we know, their children are like normal human size that we know of. So like,
right.
we're like, how did that work? So,
Right, exactly.
Well, being fair,
and then we know some gods can make themselves, or actually maybe all of them can make themselves really huge at will.
right.
Yeah, they're like,
You know what I'm saying? So
being fair, all the gods are shapeshifters, so appearances. So I think for the gods themselves, appearances are less form and more function. They look how they want to look for a specific task, and I think the way it works is the monsters can't shapeshift, so they're stuck mode locked as whatever they look like. Which really sucks for Typhon because he got stuck being made of being made of snakes and giant skin, breathing fire.
Then it makes you wonder, like when they go out on dates, what do? Like, yeah, this is me. But I love you, and I enjoy long walks on the beach. You can tell me anything you want, but yeah, I got snakes. I got snakes in my hair. My skin kind of hard. But I'm faithful.
Have to wear shades.
Right.
I have to wear shades, otherwise, if I don't, like you die.
Right. So. But I'm faithful as shit, girl. I'm faithful as hell. It's okay.
The person I want to find out what he does on dates is Bryos, one of the 100-handed ones. Because, dude, you have 100 hands and 50 bodies connected to one pair of legs.
What?
It sounds like a biblical angel.
Oh,
Oh
you
no,
never
no,
know
no.
who you getting
Either
every
that
day.
or one of the creatures that basically started Armageddon. I mean, like,
Right.
My
it just sounds
goodness.
pretty freaking horrifying. But all right,
If you guys are
Huh.
listening out there, trust me, Google like biblical Bible accurate angels.
Or
But
if you wait, or if you wait,
Bayonetta was
Mm-hmm.
not kidding.
or
Bayonetta was
wait
Mm-hmm.
not
to the
kidding,
or
guys.
wait to the end of the podcast, or if you wait to the end of the podcast, if we have time, I will read the book of Ezekiel and I will tell you exactly what the Bible says angels look like, and you will scream for a week.
And see, and that's a good segue into our first topic, supernatural.
Yeah.
Supernatural. Where angels made an appearance. You know what I'm saying? They obviously they look
Yeah.
different, and so and whatever. But basically, long running drama, sci-fi drama. Honestly, in my opinion, one of the best sci-fi dramas on TV. But I'm biased because I'm a super fan. Supernatural has come to an end after 15 years. They don't
Yeah.
make shows like that stay on that long.
I didn't even know that they had that long of a run.
Yes,
Yeah.
they had that
Yeah.
long of a run.
I think I
Yes.
watched
Yeah.
like 2 seasons of that show, and all I heard was Dean, Sam, Sam,
Yes, and that's
Dean,
okay. That's okay.
Dean,
It's like
Yeah.
if
Sam,
y'all sang Kagome, Kagome. It was like
Dean,
like that whole thing.
Sam.
I
Every
mean, yeah,
episode.
like it was actually interesting because like I remember not being interested in the show when they first like had previews for it because I know I think it was Jensen Ackles, like he was on I believe it was the second or third season of Smallville before he got billed to be on
That's
it.
right. I forgot about
So
that. I
and I
totally
remember it was like 2005, and that was when it started. But like, I didn't start watching the show till probably about like 4 or 5 seasons in. So,
yeah. I was there. I watched the show. I think starting at season 2 because this was back when like I think I was in high school when this was on. I mean, like 15 years. Like I'll be 40 next year. That's like half my adult life. You know what I'm saying? And it's
yeah.
and then when I caught it on, I literally caught it on a humbug late night trying to find something to watch. And I got fascinated by whatever the hell it is I was watching. I was like, whoa, I'm gonna have to catch it. And then after that, I've been on it like ever since then. You know what I'm saying? So you're right, Cassio, and the fact that it was a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? I
I
didn't,
mean,
I done been there when, when you first get introduced to the brothers, to when the fathers sacrifice
oh my
themselves,
goodness.
the memories of what happened to their mother,
I, I,
when
I
go
am
ahead.
impressed.
I
I'm
All
impressed
right.
with
So
that kind of
cards on
loyalty.
the
I'm impressed.
table. So
Hmm, wait a minute.
cards on the table. I stopped watching after season 8 when they stopped the apocalypse because I'm like, yeah, I don't care anymore. Y'all stop the apocalypse. That's the greatest threat of all time. Whatever y'all do after this is just silly to me. I'm done here.
There was a
I
whole lot
mean,
going on after the apocalypse. There's a
I
it
lot
really
happening.
know.
was like
Listen, I
it
know
threw a
there's a lot
lot of
coming after it,
things.
but I checked
Yeah,
out. I need y'all to understand. I understand it went on for not for 7 more years, but for me, it ended in season 8 after they stopped the apocalypse.
that's fair. It's like, look,
Hmm.
I get how some folks have been able to like had to kind of
Hmm.
check out of it or whatever, but like I think this was one of those rare situations where fans literally keep the same ending.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Because
like
Hmm.
from what I've
it's
heard,
like other
Hmm.
times, it like shows will have a fanfare, but it's just like, hey, like it met its quota in ratings and did
Hmm.
this, that, or whatever. We'll keep it on, whatever. But like literally, like fans kept this show going.
And and like Jensen and Jared both said that they will keep doing the show as long as one, it made sense to do the show and as long as fans really wanted it. And you're right. So instead of, you never had this situation where you have like, a lot of these fans now that's trying to like, get petitions and stuff, you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
signed to like keep a show going or bring it back. Supernatural didn't have to worry about that. And honestly, Supernatural became like a flagship show for the CW. You
it
know what I'm
did.
Yeah,
saying?
it
Like
did.
it put out strong numbers every year. Not to say that it didn't have, like dips and stuff like most shows might, but it was like
Yeah,
a flagship show, kind of like The Walking Dead is for AMC, where they just refuse to let that shit go. But Walking Dead is different. I feel like they should have ended that like to me.
Yeah, I
But
think it's
you
like The
know what
Walking
I
Dead is
mean?
like a different beast because like
Yeah,
that's just
The
like one
Walking
of those
Dead
things
still
where
comes
like
on.
folks want it to finally end, and
yeah. And it's
it's
just
like you
like
guys
dragging
just work.
on, and yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what else? You know, I mean, it's just zombies. Like it's just
Like,
zombies and people. Like
hold on.
that's
I'm
it.
confused. Didn't
So
the like I know I checked out, but from what I've heard, wasn't the final season of Supernatural them trying to literally fight God?
Yeah,
that's what this final season is. Yeah,
it's like
that's
it
what the
wasn't
final
nothing
season
left.
is.
Like literally at this
Nope,
point, it was literal death
nope.
and literal God and his
Yep,
sister.
yep. Yep, and that was, and I think that was the thing that kind of made it unique. And it's like, yeah, they did stop the apocalypse, but there was other things going on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you had the release of, because in stopping the apocalypse, though, you also had the release of Satan. Now you got to deal with Satan. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm.
Satan got released, and him being released when Sam, in my opinion, was stupid and was drinking that demon blood. Sam unlocked all the keys to free Satan from hell, and that brought on the apocalypse. So they closed the door, but now Satan was walking the earth, and now you have to deal with him. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there were other things I thought bringing in like the angels, because I did used to wonder if that was ever going to be a thing, if they were ever going to bring in angels, because you know they had brought in like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and you had
Yeah.
Satan and death, and I just wondered if they were ever going to bring in angels, and they did. And I have to admit, I kind of like the fact that Supernatural made sure to to kind of make angels. I think the not the kind of cherub with harps and everything is golden.
Not
They
at
were kind of,
all.
Yeah,
yeah.
they
I
actually
like that
meant.
they didn't do that. They were villains in some ways more so than the demons were. You know
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
also
saying?
like
And
how
I found that neat.
even though they didn't depict it, they actually did mention a biblically accurate version of angels when they were in heaven. And Ezekiel, I want to say, yeah, I think it
Mhm.
was Ezekiel. Ezekiel goes, "Hey, here in heaven, I have four faces, one of which is a lion." I'm like, "Oh, hey, that's from the Bible. I know that reference."
It was so they. I mean,
He
they
did
did a
say
lot.
something like that. You're
Yep,
right.
he did. He sure did. And I mean, and they did a lot. And then when you had Cass trying to restore heaven to what it used to be and kind of run off the rails, and then from that he released the Leviathan, and then it just kept doing stuff. And then there was a British chapter of Men's of Letters who became the villain in another season, and then there was the whole God and the Darkness, which I kind of liked that whole story. And then, God's sister, quote unquote, so to speak. And then I honestly thought that when they reunited God and his sister, I honestly thought that I was like, I don't know what else they're gonna do. But then
Oh,
it
they pulled a
became,
hold on. I know this reference. I'm about to say it. Oh, they pulled a Swamp Thing American Gothic on us. We're reuniting God with the great evil beast.
hmm.
God.
Now see, I don't know anything
Yeah.
about Swamp Thing, so I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, so that reference meant nothing to you. That was
No, it didn't.
that was a trust me. That was a
I will
It
brilliant.
look. I
went
will
right
Google it
over
later. I
my
promise.
head. Went right over my head. I don't know what
Trust me,
that's
that was a
about.
brilliant reference. Trust me when I say it was a brilliant reference, and I feel
I believe
and
you. I'm just sad it was wasted on me because I don't.
yes,
I'm
yes.
sitting here
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I just think once it got to that whole point, like I just thought it was interesting how I think the whole darkness thing with uh uh God's sister like had something to do with the mark of Cain or something.
yes, I found
I
that to be
think
so
and I
unique.
thought that was actually a pretty
Yes,
cool tie-in the way they did that. And I was
yes,
just like,
yes,
huh. Because like Cain like
yes,
technically like becomes like kind of like a knight of hell, and
yes,
then he kind of like was trying to like just live on his own, but he kind of got dragged
yes,
back into shit and all that. And
yes.
it was I'm
Because
like,
he
dude.
basically became kind of like, because he was the first murderer. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Because he killed his brother, he was the first murderer. So the mark is what kept the darkness in, because once that goes, then everything calamity happens. I really did like that tie-in. And the actor who played him, which I don't remember his name, but I do love him as an actor,
Oh
the
yeah,
guy who
yeah,
played
yeah.
Cain.
I don't know the
So
guy's name, but I've seen him in plenty of stuff. I think that dude's a
yeah.
really good actor.
So then,
But
and so now so the show has, and I won't try to do too many spoilers, obviously.
mhm.
But yeah, the final storyline. So if you watch Supernatural, then at some point, which I kind of really wish this was explained because I don't know when it happened, but at some
Mhm.
point, Chuck who was originally a prophet when he meets Sam and Dean, somehow at some point God,
Possessed him or
No,
something.
yeah, like he is able to hold God's essence or his spirit. He becomes God at some
I
point, and I don't know
honestly, I don't.
where that happened.
Honestly, I think that. Honestly, I think
Wow.
that was ruse. I think that was a ruse.
You
Yeah.
think he was
I,
God? You
I,
don't think he was
I,
God the whole time, do you?
I believe it was a ruse because
Okay,
first
okay.
of
Hmm.
all,
Listen.
it's like,
That would make sense, but the problem is thinking it was a ruse. Why was he still acting like Chuck when no one else could see him?
well, I just think it was just a situation where, because, like, look, given the state of how he operates in general and all that or whatever, and again, the thing is, God was portrayed as a person that wanted to insert himself into his own story.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
like, it kind of makes sense to me that it's like, okay, he's kind of like doing this whole thing where, he's, you know, being this author and this, that, and the third or whatever, and kind of sets himself up in a story, whatever, because he felt like it all. Because the thing is, like, even at that episode, at the end of that episode, I think, he was like at the computer typing whatever, and then he was just gone. So
Yeah, that
it,
was
That
it
and that's the part somewhere in air. That's the part where I kind of wish, because so going back to the question of has it been a ruse? I guess the only part, so I could see what you're saying, Father Marvel, on how it may look like one. I guess for my thing is we know God's all powerful, right? If
right.
and whatever. But the part where Dean is trying to keep Sam from sleeping with Lilith,
Hmm.
and he goes and makes Chuck come with him, because if Chuck's in the room with him being a prophet, an archangel will automatically come down, because they protect prophets.
Right.
God would need an archangel to come down,
He
right?
wouldn't. He wouldn't, but at the same time, he can make him seem like whatever he wanted. So
Hmm. Hmm.
it's
it's
not.
very
It
confusing.
wouldn't be that hard for him
Hmm.
to pretend to be a prophet.
Yes, it's very confusing and contradictory.
Interesting.
Like, I think we can all agree that there's no right answer. It's all
It's
interpretations.
not.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
because the thing is, the one thing about the show, it's like you have to expect anything to happen. So
Yeah.
it's
Because anything did
so
happen.
just that's why it's just like, to me, it's just like, okay, it's okay, this is where we're going with the story.
Right.
So
So it's like so basically it becomes this thing where God has been basically trying to have his ending that he's written happen between Dean and Sam, which his thing was always a Cain and Abel thing. Michael and Lucifer. He's always expected the brothers to like have this big huge fight and kill each other. That was his ending. That's what he wrote. And so
right.
when the boys realized that they were basically in God's story and God was literally just controlling their lives, then it became them trying to get out from under his thumb and being able to live a life for free their way for the first time ever, once they realized that they were just like pawns in a story. And that's kind
Right.
of what the last season became, is like
But
true freedom, true choice, you know what I'm saying, and stuff
team
like that,
free
without
will,
me
as well.
ruining. Yeah,
Yeah.
true free will without me
Man.
ruining anything. That's kind of what that last season was. It did become about beating God, and I have to admit, they did it in a very unorthodox way, which I kind of didn't see coming, but kind of. I won't spoil it, but
Yeah.
it was it
I
was
have
interesting.
I have to say that early in that season, though, I thought it was like really hilarious, the episode where like he basically turned off their plot armor. Like,
Oh
remember, like
yeah, so
after like
they
remember
started
like
getting like they
like
started getting
remember like
codes
after
and
like after like he had pissed them off, like he literally turned their plot armor off, and it was
yep.
hilarious.
So they was getting like whooped. Like they weren't recovering from their wounds as fast. They started having problems like everyday people. Like the car would break down. They would get a cold. Stuff started happening to them that wasn't happening to them for like 15 years. And they were like Dean all of a sudden had all these cavities. And he had to go to Garth, who is apparently a werewolf dentist. Okay. Which
That's
I
the
found
second.
interesting.
That's the second coolest werewolf job I've heard this week.
Yes, he's a
Wow.
werewolf, but he also became a dentist, because he was like, our kind gets messed up teeth too, and it's not like they can go to a regular dentist. So I went to dentist school and became a dentist, and he's a werewolf dentist, and he takes care of other werewolves. It was
Wow.
it was interesting. So he actually checked Dean out, because Dean kept having mouth pain and he didn't understand where it came from. And Garth looked in his mouth. He was like, "Woo, you ain't never been to a dentist."
Hey, she did went to the same dentist that Electro went to in the Spider-Man movie. You got them dog on that gap zapped together. You need to get to that dentist, baby.
Oh my
Like, yeah,
goodness.
let's
Come
let's
on.
just throw you into a
I'm
vat
sorry.
of
You right. You
like
right. I had to say
engineered
something, man. I
ears.
had to put a joke in there or
No,
something.
you're. I
Come
mean,
on. My bad.
you're
My
good.
bad.
It was just, it's just for me. I mean, the show did everything
Call it
from
power line. Forget the Invisalign. Power line.
the
Zap
show
the
did
thing.
everything from poking fun at itself. You had the one where they literally portrayed themselves as actors. They jumped into another dimension, which was basically
Yeah.
their set. You know what I'm saying? It was poking fun at the industry. They did a Scooby Doo special where they actually were in a cartoon, and
Wow.
they were with the Scooby Doo
Yeah.
actors. I mean,
I thought
they've
I would
done
hate
Was
literally
that
it
everything.
animated?
episode.
I thought that, yes,
It
it was
was
animated.
like
You
I
can catch
thought
it.
that I would hate that
Yep, I
episode,
thought
but
it
that
would
was
be too
actually a really
cheesy.
good episode.
Yes, it was really fun. It was
All
really,
right.
really, really fun. It's
I
animated.
gotta check that episode out.
Yep.
I that's
And Dean tries to hit on Daphne. Like it was all awkward because he had a
I
crush on her.
Oh,
mean,
dude.
you ever have an opportunity to get into a cartoon? I mean,
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
You know what
very
I'm saying?
few
I
people
mean,
have that opportunity, right?
and I
I
agree. I
mean,
thought it would
Hey,
be
hey, hey,
cheesy,
hey!
but it
Speak for
turned out
yourself.
to
You
be
don't know my
really
backstory.
good. And I agree. I thought it would be cheesy, but it actually was a really cute episode. It really, really was. And
Yeah.
then they had the one where they were cast into like this different alternate reality dimension kind of thing by one of the angels who is actually turned out to be Loki. Um, but they ended up,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
and
the
then,
Japanese
then
game
it turns
show, and
out
it was the
Loki
one.
turned out to be Gabriel. Other way
Yeah,
around.
Gabriel. Thank you. Loki turned out to
Yeah.
be Gabriel, but they ended up being on that Japanese game show where they got hit in the nuts, and they didn't know what to do because
Yeah, I
neither one of
remember
them
that.
spoke Japanese, and they were like, "What?" It was hilarious. It was hilarious.
It was a fun
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
I'm,
So it
I'm,
just
I,
had its moments, and you just
even
don't have
though
too many shows
even though
that
I stopped
last that long.
even though I stopped watching season 8, I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah. I mean, if you
Yeah.
just don't have shows, especially in that kind of genre, which was super
Mhm.
sci-fi and they had some elements that was darker. It did have a lot of religious elements, as we've all talked about, and not everybody was a fan of how, especially how like angels and God was being depicted in the show. You know
Of
what I'm saying?
course.
So, I mean, so in it having 15 years and a fairly successful 15 years where
Mhm.
basically the show was kind of what they wanted to do, and the writers and the directors kind of didn't make a move or didn't make a drastic change without Jensen and Jared okaying it. You don't really have that, what I'm saying, too much. So
It's rare. These
Supernatural
days
was,
it's rare.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's just a big show, and me myself personally, again, somebody who's been watching it forever, I'm like, well, shit, how do I get my my dark sci-fi fix where it's not like creeping me out? You know what I'm saying? Like Supernatural had a little bit of everything. It was serious, it was
Yeah.
funny, it was dark, it was light. It did a lot of things well, in my opinion, and it's going to be missed for me personally. It was just
Yeah.
really good. So
And just to really touch on the mythology topic that we were on earlier, let's not forget that Sam at one was worthy to pick up Mjolnir at one episode.
yes, he did a couple of
oh,
times. A couple of times he picked up Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just throwing that
Let's
out
talk.
there.
Well,
Let's talk
Sam was
about that.
worthy.
being
I mean,
fair,
they
hold on,
done.
hold on, hold on. Being fair, Mjolnir does not work like that in mythology. It's not a worthiness clause in mythology. In mythology, it's just really stupid heavy, and that's why only Thor could lift it because Thor was really stupid strong.
Well, shit. Sam picked it up like it was a wooden spoon that he was trying to make dinner with. He even flipped that motherfucker a couple times. I was like, "Oh shit!" And he slammed it down, and a couple of times that lightning came from that thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You did.
But I mean, and they included other things. I mean, they had Zeus and Athena in an episode. They had Hindu gods and goddesses in the episode. They didn't had satyrs and I mean they had a little bit of everything from other, what I'm saying, genres and stuff
Yeah.
like, and other religious things in the show too. But it kind of never lost its. It didn't get like it like in my opinion, like what happened with, because I don't really watch it too much anymore. But like what happened with the Flash and how
Mhm.
when it started, in my opinion, it really did start out really good, and I do think the Flash was I guess a good show, but there was some point where it just started to like drift.
Yeah, like drag on a little bit.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like, and
It's
then it
like
kind of
it.
lost direction a little bit to me, you
I
know.
still
Yeah.
enjoy it, but it did kind of sort of veer off where it started kind of falling into like that whole thing where I guess like what we criticize Arrow a lot for like a few years. So
That
because
weird area where it's not only it's not just the fact that it diverges too far from the comics, it's that the storylines it's following aren't as interesting as the storylines we just left.
yeah, it just starts getting like melodramatic for no reason.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Because
Yes,
We
it's
are
like
the
yes,
Flash.
dude,
Like,
like because
yes,
I think
that
what was it?
chair. Oh my God, Cassio, Jesus
No, like can
Lord.
hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
While we're on that topic, while we're on that topic, I want to pose like a quick question for you guys. Okay, now remember I guess it was the crossover after Flashpoint. It was like when I think it was like the first crossover with Supergirl or whatever. I guess. So okay, remember how upset like Diggle got like when like Cisco kind of like busted him out like as far as like the
The timeline has
Flashpoint
changed
thing
and whatever.
and
Uh huh.
like how his kid that they had like wound up being a boy instead of a
Instead of
girl
a girl, yeah, I remember that.
and he
And
got
then
upset with him about that even though
Mm-hmm.
nothing really changed. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's like, wait a minute, dude, you still had the same kid. Like
He was like, "Are you?" He was like, "You're telling me I had a girl, so and now I have a boy," and I'm like, "Okay, but you still have a kid though.
it's the
No,
Like
I
same
we
think
didn't lose.
child. Like
You still have a
hold on.
child."
I'm going to defend his point. While it's still a child, he feels that one of his children was raised from reality. Not that it matters because after Crisis on Infinite Earths, he has both now, so he can shut up.
Right,
it was just
exactly.
it was just one of those things that I felt like they didn't have to add into the crossover, and it was just like one of those things where it was like okay, Barry made a mistake, but like he had no way of knowing it would have that type of
Right,
repercussion at the end of the day. So it's
right.
like it
Still,
was just like it's like that was something they could have left out of the crossover because like that took up like a bulk of that crossover.
yeah,
So it was
that was
like
really pointless.
But I mean, that was just like the whole like what Cassio said, where he was, like we are Team Flash. No, I'm Flash. Me, I got the powers. Me.
Yeah,
She
And then,
didn't. She
you
ain't
know what I'm
say
saying? And then
Team
and then
Flash. She
and
said
then
we
and
are
then the
the
episode
Flash.
that happened where somehow where the dude transferred their powers and she was the Flash. Like
yeah,
she
yeah.
got these powers, and I was like, so now we become Iris centric. Like really? Like it was
I,
just
yeah. It was
I
just
was
for one
just like
episode, but yeah, but
It's like, look,
um
this is my thing. For the
mhm.
record, to me, no one has gotten worse, it got as bad as Felicity to me. So Felicity's has been on my shit list since season 3. So
See, and I haven't watched Arrow really, so for me to
Yeah.
chime in, I'm
yeah,
gonna have to watch it one day.
we'll
So, but
we'll
yeah,
we'll
so
we'll speak on
yeah,
the reason why a little bit later.
yeah.
But
yeah.
go ahead,
So
go ahead,
again,
hit
so
it.
for me being the super fan on this particular one, I personally have to like thank Supernatural for a lot of things because, it's like anything, like with like how you guys have like comics and and stuff like that. Supernatural was a good escape for me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And as somebody growing up in watching that thing and just being able to watch that show every week is kind of like Old Faithful. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
Right.
something that I look forward to watching every week. So for me, coming from myself as a super fan, I got to thank Supernatural for just 15 great years and being a good constant. When there was a lot of other stuff kind of going on TV that I didn't really care to watch, and it was just that constant thing that I could always count on to that I could come back to, and the stories were great. Being engrossed in Sam and Dean's like it felt like I had two boyfriends, but now my boyfriends like they kind of left me a little bit. I'm still at home though, like they still gonna see me because they're both starring in different shows. So Jared Padalecki is has a Walker Texas Ranger kind of show coming on the CW. So he's starring in his own show on the CW, and then Jensen is going to the boys.
Right.
Yeah.
So he is what's the Soldier
Soldier
70?
Boy.
Soldier Boy. Thank you. I was about to say Soldier 76 on a video game. Soldier Boy. Soldier about your boy
So I really
Someone's been
hope
playing
I,
too
I
much
just really
Overwatch.
hope the new Walker I really hope the new Walker Texas Ranger won't be as up Chuck Norris's ass as the
Okay,
old one
first
was.
of all, we're not gonna talk about Chuck Norris because that show was hot.
There's a
Can't sit
new
up here and
Walker
tell me
Texas
Chuck Norris
Ranger.
back.
Yeah, that's
Walker
what he's going
Texas
to.
Ranger. Yeah, he's going to be a new Walker Texas Ranger.
Oh,
I don't think it's. I
I was
don't know if. I don't want to say it's a remake though, because he's not trying to outdo what was done. He's just like, I guess, a reboot. Maybe is that the right term? He's like bringing
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
we,
it's
again,
probably gonna go for a different tone because, I mean, let's
hopefully,
face it, Walker Texas Ranger was kind of hokey in hindsight.
Yeah, but that was the '90s. Like
yeah, yeah. I mean, and older
that was
folks like
the
it
'90s.
hold
too,
on.
man.
Listen, listen,
Because
listen,
the
listen.
eyes of the Ranger are upon you.
No, no,
Like
no.
I
Listen,
said, hokey.
hold on. I can solve this. The first few seasons were really down to earth and fine, and then he started fighting super soldiers and got a jetpack and gained Native American bear calming powers. And I'm like, so y'all
It's
just letting
Chuck,
Chuck Norris do whatever he
but it's
wants now, huh?
but it's Chuck
Absolutely,
Norris though. It's Chuck
absolutely.
Norris.
It is
It's
Chuck
Chuck
Norris,
Norris.
ladies and gentlemen.
You're gonna let him do whatever he want to do. He could
he's
fight
the
One
only
Punch Man
person
in war.
allowed to do
Okay,
absolutely
yeah,
anything he wants to do.
he's the only person that One Punch Man is scared of. Fight him as scared of. Okay,
Can we?
Chuck Norris.
You know what? You know what? I'm just going to move on because I'm not dealing.
All right,
Because
so
I'm
Only
not
so,
dealing with
person.
so
Chuck Norris jokes.
okay, so
I'm
so
sorry.
we gonna go ahead and get into our next subject, which is Black Lightning is coming to an end after next season. So they've been on for 3 seasons. This upcoming season is number 4, and it just got announced the other day that they are ending the show. They are going to try to do a spinoff with Painkiller,
Mhm.
which I'm kind of surprised at because even though I do kind of like who Painkiller has evolved into, because when he first came on the scene, he was a fuckboy douchebag, in my opinion. That's just I'm just gonna put it out there. He was a typical jock fuckboy douchebag. I mean, he
Oh,
was nice, but he was fuckboy douchebag. That's just how I felt. And then when the thing happened to him and he started working, he got into the accident or whatever, or got shot, whatever. Oh, he got shot. That's right. When he got shot after that protest, and Tobias came in, basically made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And then next thing you know, y'all like my thing. Y'all ain't rehabbing. I know y'all like it.
No, I got it.
And then and then he and basically he started working for Tobias and he became Painkiller. But I still feel like they had to do some little bit of evolution with his character a little bit because he like became a super douchebag, you know what I'm saying, and whatever, especially towards Jennifer. And then he kind of evolved into this tragic kind of anti-hero. You know, he's got the thing going on in his mind where he's trying to keep the killer soldier of Painkiller like on lock so he can kind of take his consciousness back and he's not just randomly killing whoever he's, told to kill by what is the agency, whatever the agency is called. I forget in Black Lightning. So now it's this kind of thing where I guess he became like super popular somewhere between season 2 and 3. And so they're talking about possibly giving him a spinoff. Um, but Black Lightning comes to an end after this season. So, what are y'all's thoughts?
Well, I'm sad to see it go, but like I said when we briefly discussed it a few minutes ago, I do feel that it was starting to lose its way in steam. Like it was starting to feel less like a urban drama with a urban superhero drama, and it was starting to feel more like an urban drama with superhero elements, which is what caused the downfall of the Flash and the and Arrow.
But the Flash is still on.
Oh, the Flash is still on. I just said it's starting to suck.
yeah.
Oh,
It's like declining with the fans. It's getting way too just focused on like relationships. You know what I'm saying? Relationship between Flash and Iris, and it's just getting really like melodramatic, like you said. I actually stopped watching Flash. I'm just gonna be honest. I stopped watching it because it just seemed like they just like veered away from what made it exciting. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I've I've been trying to see like when it got announced. I was trying to see if I could find a little bit more details, probably as to why it probably. I mean, ratings obviously are probably a factor, but to be fair, the CW doesn't really market Black Lightning. They don't really like the way that they promote the Flash and Superman and Arrow when it was on, and some of these other little whack ass shows. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't really do that
I haven't.
with
Yeah,
Black
you're
Lightning.
right. You're
They
right.
didn't really
Like
do
I.
that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
when they moved Black Lightning to like a new light, a new night. I didn't. The only reason I knew was because I followed the Black Lightning page on Instagram, and the Instagram page promotes it all over the place. And they had talked about a new night, but the CW network,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
they didn't really promote it all like that. So for if there's any kind of lack of awareness or numbers or whatever, that's the CW's fault in my opinion because they do not market Lightning or advertise it like they do a lot of their other superhero shows.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I don't obviously I'm not gonna say it's racially motivated because I don't know and I don't want to throw that bear out there. But I'm just saying they don't market it the same. So you guys can draw conclusions from that, which you will, in that
Mhm.
way.
Okay.
I do agree with you, Toku Terry, about how it started to become more of a cultural show with superhero problems. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And it started focusing on a lot of things where I was just like especially with Jefferson Pierce's relationship with his wife. I
Mhm.
ain't never seen two divorced people not be divorced. but be legally but be legally divorced like
What?
in Black Lightning. I didn't think that should happen. Like
Man, you
she
know
like she
what?
like the show started with them being divorced. She had her, his wife had her own. Lynn had her own house, own crib, whatever. The girls lived with Jefferson because he was a
Mhm.
principal, and whatever.
See the
And
yeah,
and,
Yeah.
it's racist. No,
and
no,
next thing,
that's
and
why they
next,
promoting it.
and
Racism
then next
being
thing
let.
you know, Lynn done moved in, but they ain't like they together, but they're not together. Like they get mad, and she makes Jefferson sleep on the couch. And I was like, hold on, bitch, you got your own house. What did you talk about? Like, get out.
You
What
know,
is you doing? It was
the
weird.
first season to me was rather
To be fair,
interesting in that
I'm
regard.
gonna give the show one little bit of compliment on that note. They have been hinting since the first season that Jefferson and Lynn still had feelings for each other, and the only reason for their divorce was the stress of him being
Mm-hmm.
a superhero, and
Black
then
Lightning. Mm-hmm.
all the problems that came from him forcing himself to retire from superheroing.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
The
still,
one thing I definitely didn't like about that was how like she kept trying to like psychoanalyze why he was Black Lightning
yes,
though.
oh yeah, that
Like
was
yes,
that part of it was kind of like
yes.
y'all are making it hard for me to get behind this character right now.
And the way
So
she kept like throwing it in his face, like what he had, one that he had a choice, or what he had was a disease. Like she
yeah.
treated
She
his
kept calling it
powers
an
like it was a
addiction.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? I
right,
didn't like that. I didn't like how
yeah,
they did that, and I agree with you, Fallen
That
Marvel.
was
That was one reason I couldn't really get behind,
yeah.
her as a character. 'Cause one minute she's throwing it in his face and she's telling him it's a Kurt whatever, but then when the girl's in trouble, oh Jefferson, you got to go get our babies. Black Lightning could
right.
do it, but then you want to throw it in his face another time. Like she kept flip flopping it, and I'm like, either you gonna
She was
support the
being
man or get it out his way.
yeah, she was being highly manipulative, and the show's never clear whether she's being manipulative on purpose or by accident, but she was being manipulative.
It was
Yeah.
terrible. It really was terrible.
And the thing is, like, it got. I think like the dynamic with them got better in the following season, like based on how everything happened, because obviously they were like dealing with well, they had already dealt with Vanessa having powers, but then now
Mm-hmm.
like this is dealing with Jennifer having powers.
Mm-hmm.
So and then like it essentially got better at that point, and like I was actually kind of glad that at least before the first season ended, like it kind of stopped being extra preachy, because like
Mm-hmm.
because that's how I kind of felt at first. But like as the season went on, it essentially got better and kind of mellowed it out
Mm-hmm.
some, and in that regard. And then like second season, like I thought was a really good improvement. I definitely
Yep.
enjoyed the
Yep.
third season.
Yep.
But that season definitely made me like Vanessa a lot less. Like the third season made me like Vanessa like a lot less, because like it's kind of like what you were saying, like how like Painkiller was kind of like a fuckboy douchebag, like in that
Oh
one.
my god.
Vanessa was
Oh
kind
my.
of doing it was
She.
kind of being a fuckboy in
Yes.
the third season. So it was
Yes, she
like
was.
On
Yes,
the
she
bright
was.
side, on the bright side, that one villain they had that was Neo Confederate. They managed to hit every single Neo Confederate talking point
They did.
accurately, and
They
which
did.
made me hate her. But that was the most realistic supervillain I've ever seen, because she said
Oh
everything
yeah.
I've actually seen real life Neo Confederates say. Like, I'm not racist. I'm just proud of my culture. Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right.
Because and I want to make sure that we talk about the fact that for me, in my opinion, the villains in Black Lightning were great. Tobias
Yes.
Well was dope.
oh, Spice Girl's always
What's my
good.
girl? What's my girl? Jill Scott. She was Lady
Lady Eve. Lady
Lady
Eve.
Eve. She did a fantastic job as a
Yeah.
villain. And then my guy who had the ghost in his body,
Oh,
um,
Tattoo Man. Lala.
Tattoo Man, he was a great actor too. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I really think the villains did a lot in the show. And even if there were times where you may have thought like you may have gotten tired of some of the rigmarole, in the Pierce family, you had the villains, that super kind of
Hmm.
balanced that out a little bit because Tobias was a force. You know what I'm saying? And again,
Right.
as somebody who doesn't read comics, watching this dude on screen, it's like I mean, spoiler alert, the way he pulled when Painkiller was like, "Yo, I don't want to work for you no more. I don't like this. I don't want to do this no more." He picked that young man up by his neck and pulled his cybernetic out of his
Man,
spine.
that was. I
I
was actually.
screamed. I
I was
screamed.
actually surprised they went there.
That
Like
was
I
the
was like,
darkest shit. Yeah,
whoa.
that was the and left that and dropped him on the floor and left that man as a pile of crap on that floor with his spine laying next to him. I was like, oh, like
Yeah.
when I saw that episode. So I, I agree with everybody else. That I am kind of sad it's ending. I feel like it had potential, but there were
It
some
has
moments where
plenty
it
of
was
potential.
really good.
Like after this past season, it has a lot. That's why, like,
Yeah,
I'm
and Wayne
actually
Brady did
surprised.
great as that first soldier. Wayne Brady was top,
Yeah,
in my
Gravedigger.
opinion.
Yeah, he did good. He
Gravedigger,
did
thank
really
you.
good.
Yeah.
Also shout out to Bill Duke is
Yes.
Agent Odell.
Odell.
So like
Mm-hmm.
the legend Bill Duke, man, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he was good. He was
Mm-hmm.
definitely good. Like I'm just really sad that this is basically how it's gonna end like this, because this is basically like the shortest one so far, because I know like Batwoman is still like gonna get a second season, albeit a
Mm-hmm.
new lead actress, but
Mm-hmm.
even still, it's like I think Black Lightning was like in comparison is like the shortest series, because I
Like
think
as
like
far as
I think
comic on CW?
on
Is that what
CW,
you
yeah,
mean?
because I think
Yeah.
they only typically have like between like 11 to 13 episodes a season.
Yep.
So for
Yep.
it to kind of just end like this, and
Yep.
whatever, it's just kind of like it kind of sucks. And like I heard I know like the actress that's playing Jennifer, apparently she's not going to be in the season as much, so they have to kind of like sort of downplay her down basically lighten her presence on the season, which also
You
Which
know,
sucks.
how do you do that?
So
And she's the most powerful one in the family,
I
so
which is
I
crazy.
can I be mean for a second?
Are you gonna really be
Uh,
mean, or are you gonna be Toku Terry version of mean?
well, my version of mean.
Okay. All right.
While I am sad that most of CW's original run of DC shows are over, I am really happy Arrow's gone, and I am really happy Supergirl's gone, because Supergirl could
oh
not keep it all
yeah,
together.
yeah.
Supergirl ended?
This is its last season.
Yeah,
Oh
and,
shit! I
and
didn't
it's
know
being
Last
that.
season.
replaced by Superman and Lois, who
Oh.
yeah, I know you're not a really big Superman fan, but let's be honest here.
No, 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 no. I'm a Superman fan. I just don't want another Superman Lois show.
Mm.
I mean
Okay,
that's
be
fair.
fair. That's fair, but being fair, it is pretty sad that every time Superman was on Supergirl's show, he outshone her. Like, this is her show, and we're all excited to see him.
Okay, so let me I'm gonna speak on that one a little bit.
Mhm.
So one,
Hmm.
when Supergirl came out, I
Yes.
feel like they tried too hard to make it a feminist kind of movement kind of thing.
Yes,
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
which
Like
is what
it
made
was
me
it
stop
was
watching
Yeah.
it.
exactly. It was too girl power, and I'm a girl and I could do this.
See,
First of all, as we all know, Supergirl is strong as shit. In some instances, she's stronger than Clark.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
she's stronger than
so
Clark because she doesn't hold back the way Clark does.
yeah, so so the fact that they dwarfed her, I
Hmm.
think it had this dynamic of, well, you don't want her to be too overpowerful because who's gonna believe that she's more aggressive and more then they made her too nice.
See,
So like the
see,
iteration of
but that's
Supergirl that was
uh,
in Smallville to me was a better
oh,
depiction.
dude, come
She
man,
was a way better depiction than
facts,
the show we
That is
got.
facts.
true.
If they would have made Supergirl more like what we had in Smallville with Supergirl, I think it would have done way better. But it was too. And again, I am a feminist, and I don't have a problem with feminism. But Supergirl isn't that. That in my opinion, that's more Wonder Woman.
It was
You know what I'm saying?
pandering. It was
Supergirl was
pandering.
different. Yeah, exactly. Supergirl was different, and they did too much and they tried too hard, and then they didn't really focus on the story as best that they could. And then it kind of was in the same way. She kind of had like no budget in the beginning, so costumes was whack, and things was whack,
Superman was
and
the silhouette throughout the whole first season.
exactly. And how they did, John Jones, the couple of times he showed. I mean, it
Dude.
had a lot of, it had a, what I'm saying? It had a lot of problems. And I think one of the good things when Flashpoint happened, I think one of the good thing is that it showed her more of her strength instead of this weepy, oh, yeah, like in my opinion. And so like when you talk about Superman coming on, it's because they had this thing where you have a lot of people, again, non-comic readers like me, but you have a lot of people out there that don't know that she's like mad aggressive versus Superman. And so you don't, they didn't want her to like super overshadow, because then you didn't want them to like emasculate Superman. It's like this whole like thin
But they
line
kind of
that,
still did because
yeah,
there have been multiple times where she outlasted him, even beat
yeah,
him in
in
some
battle. Yeah,
episodes.
exactly.
So it's like, because look, this is
Exactly.
the problem. This is the problem the show had, and it probably got doubly worse once it went over to CW. And it's the same problem Batwoman had. They're making them exactly like female versions of the characters that they come from.
Which is
They
not how
made
that
Kara.
works.
They made Kara a female Clark, which she is not.
Right.
They
Exactly.
made Kate Kane a female Bruce, which
Bruce, but
she
she is
also is
A
not.
not.
female lesbian,
No.
So
which she is not.
they like it was even so bad in Batwoman that was actually one of the
What?
lines in the first episode that she was a female Bruce Wayne, and I'm
Now
like,
see,
oh,
I never
I was
bothered
like,
watching it, but I saw the previews and I was
oh,
like,
trust me, I tapped that after that first episode. That first episode was like, ooh, yeesh. So it's just like, and it's like, dude, like for all the good that the show tried to do, and granted, like the only good episode that like I felt was good in the first season of Supergirl was the crossover with Flash for obvious
mm-hmm,
reasons. So even though they kind of sort of like copped out like the resolution in that episode for
mm-hmm,
whatever reason, I don't know,
mm-hmm,
but it's just a simple fact that it had a lot going for it, but like it was just a victim to a lot of the pandering
mm-hmm,
writing on the show,
mm-hmm.
and it was just like, dude, like it's just like
It
it's
was
like,
too
look,
much. It was
it's like
too much.
it was too much because it's like,
It
look,
was
because
too
I'm
much.
all for like everybody being represented and all that. It's like
Yep. But it was
let's
it
not
was
get it twisted.
overboard.
But
Yep.
it was too much. It was just
There
like,
Yep.
was no
dude, the
no,
whole
Yep.
it
first
wasn't that it was
season
too
was
much. It was just that there was
like
no they were no longer trying to be subtle. They were
at all.
hammering it. They were hammering it
Yeah,
you over the head with it.
That's what I'm
right.
saying. Like, and like and it's a shame because the later episodes of Supergirl was kind of more what you wanted to see, but by then we didn't have all these seasons where she kind of sucked. You know what I'm saying? And now is and obviously the ratings probably didn't do what they wanted to do. So it's like, we're gonna go ahead and
You
go
know
ahead and
what's
pull the
cra-
plug.
you know what's
But,
crazy is that like the last couple seasons, the two bright spots in Supergirl was John Cryer as Lex, and the one episode where she had like the Russian clone. Like
oh,
the
I kind of
Russian
remember that one. I kind of
Russian
remember that.
Supergirl was way more interesting. I'm like, dude,
And that's the other thing. She's not interesting.
she's
She's
not.
not
She's
interesting.
not.
You know what I'm saying? They're so busy trying to make her this girly girl, feminist, woman. She as a character is not interesting, and it's her damn show. But you don't want to watch her. and that's the
And
sad
here's
thing
the
because
weird thing, because they're trying to make her like Clark, but Clark is interesting.
Clark is interesting.
We like
Exactly.
we like Clark. We see how he builds up and how he constantly struggles between Clark Kent of Smallville, Clark Kent of Metropolis, and Superman. We get that. Whereas with Kara, she didn't even change her first name for one. That's the laziest thing I've ever heard.
It's just like I said, if we would have gotten a car like what we had in Smallville, the
Hmm.
show would be way more successful because that car was interesting.
Hell,
Interesting as hell.
I would have taken Car from Batman, Superman, Apocalypse.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
But
off
see, I'm
tops.
not a
Like
comic reader, so I don't know. I don't know.
No,
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 that's
you're
no,
talking
that's
about
the
the movie.
movie. That's the animated
Oh,
movie.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it
Please,
yet.
please
I
do.
have to watch
Whenever
it.
you
I
get a
will. I
chance,
will.
please do.
I will. I'll
Yeah.
watch it. Don't spoil it for me. I'll watch it.
We won't
Oh
spoil
no.
it.
That's it.
Okay, so I think that's
Yeah. So there we go with that. Um Somebody had mentioned about, that they would also love like a Thunder spinoff. I actually wouldn't mind a Thunder spinoff. Just don't keep making her like a fuck girl. Like
Yeah.
I hate I hate it. And I know I'm not a lesbian or anything like that. I'm sure that those type of women out there exist, but it's like, why does she have to be depicted like that? Like, she is a black lesbian superhero. Why do you got to make her like a super ridiculous douchebag? Like,
Yeah.
why does
Like
that have to be her
Representation matters.
thing?
Even douchebags need representation. You know what I mean?
like she
I don't
it's
know.
like she was just so like just hard headed to the point of hilarity. Like I'm just like,
Right.
dude, like it's like what is wrong with you? Like
Listen, when she would be throwing in one liners in bed, and I was like, did you just watch every like fuckboy show there is out there and throwing them things? Oh God, I hated it. I hated it. But yeah, she was a little bit like when she was kind of, she was hard headed in the fact that, and that bothered me a little bit about Jennifer too, because they tried
Mhm.
to make it seem like they knew more than their father. Black Lightning's been
Yeah.
Black Lightning for like decades. Y'all knew.
Right.
Why can't
See,
why
but,
can't y'all
see,
just
but
sit
that's the
down and
difference
listen?
though. Jennifer was still young, is still young though. Like
Oh, you
Vanessa
mean
is
because she was
practically
yeah, she
grown.
was an adult. Yeah, she was. She was.
Like
She
Vanessa
was an adult.
is a grown adult. Like
Yeah.
Jennifer is still in high school. So
Yeah,
it's
you're
like
right.
you like Jennifer could kind of get away with it because she's still a teenager.
You're right.
Vanessa not so much.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right. And that, and it was like, why can't you just like listen? Like, why you got to do things the hard way? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't you just like take a second and listen? You know what I'm saying and whatnot. So there were moments, and there were people who thought that there was like cheesy, corny stuff. I personally, I mean, obviously it has some of that in it because it was new. I kind of did
Mhm.
like the way they tied in a lot of the current societal issues into the show, like when white people calling the police unnecessarily on black people, and
Right.
getting frisked. When Jefferson got pulled over in the rain by the cops, just got stopped just all of a sudden and frisked. I mean, I like the tie-ins. I actually thought that they did that well. I actually thought that that was better than what tried to happen in Luke Cage. When Luke Cage tried to do that, the TV show on Marvel, the Marvel TV show on Netflix,
Yeah.
they had
Yeah.
tried to do that, and I didn't think that it went in well. But I think Black Lightning did that pretty well. I honestly agree with you, Fallen Marvel. I think the show could only go up. I
Yeah.
feel like it hit. I feel like it hit a good stride in season two, and season three kind of built on that. And I feel like it could have went, still be going up, but it looks like we won't get to see it. So I'm interested to see how they tie it off, because Lynn's
Right.
lightweight crackhead. Okay, we just gonna throw that out there. I don't know. How do you have somebody that smart get hooked on green light and not know it? Like, I know it all subliminal messages, but I'm like, still, you should know that you're addicted to something, right? Like, you a little
Yeah. I mean,
paranoid and
you
you
do,
fidgety
but
and you know
it's
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's
something
not
there.
even the fact that she didn't realize she was addicted. It was the fact that she thought she could take just enough of it to not get addicted. And I'm
Right.
like, that's not how drugs work.
That's
Thank you.
that's how it all starts. And plus with it, being, she figured it was like, hey, it was just like, amp up my brain and help me solve this shit or whatever. And it was just like, no, it's
Listen,
having other side effects too.
when
So it's
she
just
dug
like,
them drugs out the toilet, I was like, honey, somebody needs to lock you up. You
I
lost
mean,
it.
look, anybody that get hooked on to like a
Yeah,
super powered like narcotic, I mean, it's like, look, we see what regular narcotics do to people.
exactly.
Just imagine what happened like
Right.
you put like a
A
superpower
super,
additive to it.
yes, yes, I agree with you. And I
Agreed.
just, and so I mean, so you have that, and she's recovering in that. You got, Gravedigger, which I have to admit, I think the show did a good job of, at least for to me, about the fact that I thought Gravedigger was working for other people. I wouldn't
Mhm.
have thought that he'd been doing this crusade on his own. Like that was his plan. And I thought
Right.
that was an interesting dynamic. And he's still out there. You know what I'm saying? So it, it, and
I
they
kind of I was I'm not gonna lie. The only bad thing about Gravedigger that I found annoying was the fact that they decided to make him Black Lightning's uncle. Like not everybody
Mhm.
has to be related. Sometimes
yeah, I
sometimes
agree with you.
Like
I
he's
sometimes
agree.
in sometimes in fiction bad people just get superpowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
It was
agree
just
with
like
you.
his great uncle or whatever. So like I mean, it's like I get it because I mean obviously if they're saying that like, obviously like the I guess the meta gene or whatever was, manufactured, whatever, that it kind of had to start somewhere, so to speak. So like it kind of makes sense that like, okay, maybe this was something that dates back up like back in, what was it, World War II?
World War
Something
Two.
like that. Yeah,
Was a werewolf, so like Tuskegee experiment stuff or whatever the case may
right.
be or whatever. So it's like, okay, so like okay, he's the OG meta. That kind of makes sense.
But
So
Remember back when metahumans were just random genetic variations that popped up occasionally, like mutants?
yeah.
those
Yeah.
were the days. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
So
it's a shame because I feel like there was more storytelling to do. I don't know what they're gonna do with Painkiller's story if he does get greenlighted to do his own show. Um,
yeah.
uh, and then
He
obviously you
was
still have the masses out there who still want a Static Shock show. And we don't know what's going on with that, but Painkiller might get a show. So the people gonna be super
I mean,
mad. That happened.
they're
So
developing a film, like according
yeah.
to DC fandom. So like that's as far as we know as far as static goes.
So
So I
And
mean, other
remember
than
his
that,
name. And remember his name is Static. Not his name is. Remember, for those of you listening, his name is Static. Zach Shock is the name of the show.
yes, like you
yeah.
have to remember that one. But other than that, yeah, it's just really a shame that it's getting cut this short after 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
Yeah,
it's
agree.
it
I
was already short already because like it wasn't a long series.
nope. It's
So
not,
Yeah,
each
the episodes, there was one season where there was only like 8 or 9 episodes in one season. I was like, wait a minute, eight, like 8, 9 episodes, shouldn't it be like 13, 14? Like, so they were already
yeah.
making short seasons versus
yeah,
other shows. So I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
maybe it's ratio. We gonna wait to hold it before we automatically hit the R button
right.
or the P
All
button.
right.
Prejudice.